Hello and welcome to a Word of Hope. Today's gospel gives us a continuation of what we heard yesterday of Jesus calling the community to a higher moral standard. The gospel starts this way, and Jesus said to his disciples, "You have heard it said, you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father, that makes the sun rise on the good and the bad, that causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust." So again, we see Jesus calling the community, if you will, to stretch a bit spiritually, to grow in that. When I was a young brother, the superior we had talked about this, and I still remember it because it was kind of funny but true. He said, the good news is that you can have enemies as Christians. The bad news is you got to love them. And he used this kind of a sarcastic joke, if you will, to kind of challenge the young brothers, first of all, to live with each other in more charity and unity among ourselves, but also to call us to this deeper mission of binding the people of God in love and charity. And today we have a new pope, and he has pretty much indicated that his hope in his pontificate will to move the church into a missionary stance. A missionary stance is where we step out of our comfort zone, our small world, and reach out and begin to bring Christ to those who do not know him or have been alienated in some way from the message and the person of Jesus. And this happens in many different ways. I was at the motor vehicle office to get a real ID, which is now required for travel. And I was sitting next to a lady, and she said, and she saw in my paper St. Vincent Ferrer Priory, and she said, are you a priest of something? And I said, well, I'm a friar. And she said, well, I used to be Catholic, but I kind of quit it. And I said, it sounds like almost like an alcoholic who says they quit drinking. And she started laughing, and she says, yeah, in some ways like that too. But she says, like an alcoholic, I still miss it a bit. And I said, well, why don't you think about reconnecting with the church and with Christ? And she said, I got to think about it, But in that little moment there, I was thinking, maybe if the Pope saw me, he'd be kind of happy that I'm trying to be a missionary. But I'm saying that kind of jokingly. But it's small things like that we can connect with people to get them more in touch with the wonderful message and joyous message of Jesus Christ. So one of the ways we do that is even within our own personal life, there might be people that really get under our skin, or maybe there's a long story of family hostility or something like that. Let us love them first through prayer and then through active opportunities for reconciliation.